Imagine you write a story that means everything to you. Imagine you get a notification that Medium chose to boost it. Imagine you watch it go viral, getting tens of thousands of views as the people who needed to read it, the people who are craving your voice, get to see it on their dashboard. They click on it, they read it, they clap, and they're so excited that they had the chance to read it. That's the power that Medium's boost functionality has. Hey there, it is your favorite YouTuber who uses a paintbrush to hold up her microphone. My name is Zuli Rain. I'm a content creator, cat mom, blogger, vlogger. I make videos that are all about how to help you grow your writing empire. Today's video is about a really cool new feature on Medium called Medium Boosted. So in this video, I'm going to give both the short answer and the long answer to what does it mean to be boosted on Medium? What is the boost functionality on Medium? And I had the chance to interview two people who work at Medium. Brianna Jones.
I'm Brianna Jones. I am a director of product at Medium, and my team focuses on distribution and making sure that the right stories get in front of the right readers.
And Scott Lamb.
And I'm Scott Lamb. I'm the VP of content at Medium, and that includes our curation team, our marketing team, are the team that does support and outreach to writers. We oversee parts of the partner program. So kind of lots of different things that touch words.
Throughout the interview, they share so many insights about what it really means to have your story boosted on Medium. Here's the short answer to what it means to be boosted on Medium.
Once something is marked as boosted, we notify the authors, of course, that their story has been marked as boosted. You can see it in the post stats page, and then we also just like push it further in our network, kind of like with all of the levers we have, whether it be the homepage, people's feeds, digest, really, like it's kind of just like a marker on the story in our system to say like this is high quality and we believe that it should go as far as possible.
Now, let's settle into the longer answer. Go ahead, sit down, get comfortable, get a drink, and let's talk about what it really means to be boosted at Medium. I'm not just going to cover the technical functionalities. Brianna and Scott had some really interesting insights about the behind the scenes of Medium, Medium's mission, curators at Medium, and I want to give you the chance to hear everything that they had to say, not just about Boosted, which is really interesting, but the wider what Medium is trying to do with Boosted and why it matters for you as a writer. So the first question I had when I saw that my story had been boosted was, okay, how can I make this happen again? How can I get my story boosted on Medium? Medium includes what they're looking for. They wrote a blog post about their new distribution standards and they shared it with everyone. So I'll copy the relevant information here. Basically, for a story to be boosted, it has to be constructive. It has to be something original, something that is well crafted, that the reader is still thinking about days, weeks, maybe even months or years later. It has to come from relevant experience. Now, it can also it can come from professional experience, it can come from a university degree, it can come from sharing your lived experience. Basically, it has to be something that only you could have written. And honestly, the final answer to how to get a story boosted on Medium is just to write what you care about it. Write it as well as you can and write it to the best of your ability with the tools at your disposal.
There's no how to. Like at the end of the day, our immediate reaction is always going to be write what you are passionate about, or write what you know about, write about a topic that you have some clear point of view, some experience, some expertise. Is there any sense as a reader that the author of the story knows what they're talking about? Like, is there something in their bio that is like
Yeah.
they focus on AI and have some credentials around it? Or is it a personal essay where they're writing about their experience in a way that only they could do? That's like the ground level. Like there's no magic formula.
And Brianna Jones had a little bit more insight to share on the tools that you have at your disposal on Medium to get your story boosted.
The thing that I love most, both from a technical perspective and just like a medium POV about these distribution standards, is that they don't omit any sort of community or interest of writing or interest of area or area of interest. But additionally, like I kind of love that they can't be gamed or hacked
Oh,
or
yeah.
there's no way to like oh, this will make me more likely, or if I write another story like this, like it's just like we don't want a hackable system. We don't want to have a system where we tell writers, like, if you do XYZ, this will happen all of the time. Because I think that, like, what we want to see on Medium go far is what you're interested in and what you know, and your relevant experience, and, your care. And so that's, I think, the thing that is hard on our end, but then also just, like, super rewarding when those audiences are connected to each other, you know?
I also wanted to share some data points on things that I know got boosted and what the ramifications were. So, my own example, my story got boosted. I have around 70,000 followers as I write this. My article about paying somebody professional to edit my article that I wrote with ChatGPT got 30,000 views and earned about $500. I'll include screenshots here. Sally Prag, a writer with just under 4,000 followers on Medium, had two articles boosted, one entitled I Threatened to Kick a Guy in the Balls on an Indian Train While My Man Said Nothing, and The Unfinished Love Story. I think it's notable, she was kind enough to provide screenshots. I think it's notable that for the first one, even though it quote unquote only got 6,000 views, that article still earned almost $500. So I think it's important to think of the ramifications of boosted stories as not just views, but actual money, like more money than you might typically earn for the same number of views because it's getting pushed out further to readers who might not read as often. Carlin also provided a screenshot of hers entitled, I'm not going to read it in case I get censored by YouTube. These literate studies show how clueless we still are about female leisure. This is another one with a really high income ratio where even though it quote unquote only got 2.6 thousand views, it earned over $200. And Carlin made the great point that a lot of Medium writers assume that articles about sex will be promoted, will not get promoted, or will penalize you somehow. She writes really well researched, really interesting historical pieces about sex all the time, and they tend to do pretty well for her. And as you can see here, Medium likes that kind of content too. Well researched, informative, entertaining, just a great article. So what happens when your story gets boosted? Well, the short answer is that Medium just presses the go viral button on it, and they push it out to tons of people who wouldn't have seen it otherwise. From a writer's perspective, it means that you get more views. They haven't been able to say exactly how many views. On the blog post, Medium CEO Tony Sebelbein said that they had seen boosted stories get anywhere between an extra 500 views to an extra 100,000 views, and everything in between. Behind the scenes, Scott and Brianna were able to share more technical details behind what happens when your story gets boosted and how it gets all those additional views.
Our team's mission is to get the right stories in front of the right people in the right way. And so I think that this ties directly to that. And it just means, let's say that, Zuli's story, which was high quality and is getting views from her network and views from just like the internal systems. We have a little bit of signal. Let's say it's, 1,000 views. What we want to do is we want to give that as much power as possible and put it in front of even more people to kind of say, like, this is a high quality story. And, the X is not right, but it's like, we think that, like, if it's going to have 1,000 views, like, let's say we get it to, again, these numbers are not real. I
Sure,
apologize,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
like, let's say we get in front of like 2,000 people, and what that does is, like, it gives the algorithm enough signal to kind of like double back on itself and say, like, wait, once we put that in front of more people are reading it. So it's almost like the boost happens in, say, the beginning of a story after it's curated, but it gets to continue because it's just even more signal that the algorithm gets to pick up on. So, like, that's the beautiful part of it, where it's like human curation and like machine learning kind of like signaling to each other in this loop that just creates a really nice system that hopefully our readers can feel when, they get on the site and they're like, oh wow, like, this is feeling better, like, this is feeling good, like, my feed feels good, like, that's just like it's working all of the time. And we found, interestingly enough, when we put these stories in front of people they were engaged with so highly that naturally it started to show up in other places on the site, right? So, like, if you think of our research module on the story page,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't explicitly said that that should be boosted stories or high quality stories, but the system learns that those are the type of things that people like to engage with. So it ends
Mm-hmm.
up showing up in all of these other places that we didn't even explicitly, set or demand.
Mhm.
And but it's because, we took a bet. We said, like, we think that people want to read good stuff and it's working.
But I think it's also important to highlight that this isn't set in stone. This process is liable and even likely to change in the coming months.
I think that's what's going to be really interesting about this process. I think also for us, and when I say us, I don't just mean the Medium staff and like our internal curation team. A big part of this push is about getting members of the community involved in this process too. So we don't have nearly the breadth of expertise that Medium writers and Medium publication editors do. So how can we engage them as a part of this is a big part of how this is going to grow over time. But when a story has been identified for boost and someone has said this is the one, like this is the example of this type of story, or this is really memorable in some important way that people need to see about, we can also immediately see like, well, do readers actually agree? Like, we're going to give it this boost, and there's a built-in feedback loop of, is that boost building on itself in a natural way, or is it just sort of a story is getting boosted and then it's sort of flattening out to where it would have been previously? Like, we're going to learn, and again, it's a community learning process a lot, I think,
Yeah.
about how this works, as we get into the mechanics of, into the process of actually doing it a lot more.
Speaking of the algorithm, how exactly does Boosted work with the algorithm? If you've been on Medium for any length of time, you know that the algorithm changes a lot, but the core functionality remains the same. Basically, when you publish a story on Medium, Medium shares it with a small pool of writers, with a small pool of readers who it thinks might be interested. So if I write a story about cats and tag it with cats, pets, this happened to me, funny cat story, and I publish it in the publication Katniss, Medium will say, okay, let's show this to a bunch of Zuli's followers, especially maybe the ones who have said that they're, or like have clicked on other of her cat stories. Let's share it with people who don't necessarily follow Zuli, but maybe follow cats as a tag or have read lots of stories tagged cats. And let's share it with a couple readers from the Katniss publication because obviously they care about Katniss stories. If that initial pool of readers reacts well, if they click on the story when it shows up in their feed or in their emails, if they read all the way to the bottom, if they clap, if they leave a comment, if they highlight, Medium expands the pool of readers. So this is actually how stories go viral. Readers keep reacting well, they keep clicking, they keep reading, they keep commenting. Medium keeps expanding and expanding the pool until your story goes viral. I was interested to hear how Medium's boosted functionality would override that algorithm or enhance that algorithm, basically how boosted worked with the Medium algorithm.
What we want to guarantee at a base level is when you publish that the people who have shown explicit interest, right, which is a follow in your content, are
Mm-hmm.
able to view and see your content when they come to Medium. Past that, I think it's exactly what you described, where we want to make sure that not only you explicitly, but the things that you're writing about. So that's why tags are super important. When writing your content, because that gives us that signal, to say like, oh, like this is about XYZ. Let's send it to folks that are interested in XYZ. Known interests or even explicit or implicit interests, we want to make sure that that content is finding its right audience. And what we're doing is essentially, not to get, let me know if this is like too technical, but like what we're doing is we're seeing how people engage with that story. So if people are reading it, which, that's how we pay folks out. Like if people are reading it further or spending time with it, if they engage with it, we have those different signals. And, do they leave quickly? Do they click and not read or something like that? And we take that score and that helps us determine kind of like quality, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we'll say like, okay, yeah, this is some signal. So they might get picked up by the curation team, or we might say like, this should go further because people are really enjoying it. So those are all the things that like happen once you hit publish. And then this is another layer on top of that. Once that signal is given by the curation team or by our community curators, we review it and we say, oh yeah, like this deserves to go further. Everything, almost everything that is published to Medium is eligible for distribution, right?
Longtime readers on Medium and longtime writers know that Medium used to have another sort of boosted like functionality called curated. It used to be that your story, when it got curated, it was like rocket fuel was poured on it, and it would almost always get way more views than you'd normally get on an article.
There was a time where, things were being hand selected, curated, and things like that, and then the chosen for distribution was an element of that.
And then that kind of morphed into distribution, which became less powerful. And now, as Brianna has explained, every story is eligible for distribution, which, as the in the famous words of that guy from The Incredibles,
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
I was interested to hear what what the key differences were between having a story chosen for further distribution and having a story boosted on Medium.
So everything is eligible for distribution, and so that chosen for distribution or chosen for further distribution, it wasn't super clear, right? So all of that is still happening. What the boost does is we're explicitly kind of like I think Scott said, like putting a stamp on it and saying like, hey, like this deserves to be seen by more people, and we want to make sure that like this is representative and finding its audience, because there was care put into this work, and we believe that it resonates with people. And so the boost is almost on top of that further, like that chosen for distribution that almost every story has, because it just has that level of care and quality.
Why boost? Why add this to Medium system?
Medium has so many things going on. It's a huge platform, and yet they've spent 3 months working on this feature. And two of the most important people at Medium took the time out of their busy days to talk to me about this. I wanted to know why. Why is Boosted so important to Medium? Why did they choose to develop this feature now?
We have so many great writers and so many great stories on Medium, and it's an open platform. We want it to be a place where people who really just have one story that they want to share can come and tell that. We want it to be a place where creators who are building a profile for themselves over a long period of time can come and do that. And a big part of our job is from all of these, tens of thousands of daily stories to try and pull out and identify the ones that are going to be most meaningful for our readers. And that's really complicated. Like there's not like a one size fits all solution to that. So Medium's distribution system has a couple of different elements to it. But we wanted to have a place where we could do more to boost the stories that we really felt were like hit like having the most impact for people in their lives, that we were getting signal, not just determining this from kind of from our point of view, but getting signal from our audience in various ways, that the special stories have the ability to just to go further, to be seen by more readers, to reach more of the people who want to have them. So like an ability to be more deliberate about that type of work felt really important to us.
I thought that was a fascinating insight to the whys behind Medium. And honestly, the more you know about why, the better you can serve Medium and the better Medium can use your stories to reach more readers. I wanted to know whether small writers, writers with 0 followers, A, still had a chance to get boosted, and B, whether that boost would still mean the same things. If you have 0 followers and you get boosted, can your story still get, tens or even hundreds of thousands of views?
Yeah, by no means limited to people who already have a base. I mean, I think one of the best use cases for Medium is a thing happens in the world and someone who has real insight on that thing is like, I got something to say about this. Where can I go? Oh, Medium. Like this is one of like the kind of original use cases for the platform. And we want that type of writer, and we want them to feel success. And even if they only write one story and that's it, they're not
Right.
here to build an audience. They're not creating a brand for themselves over time, but they have something of value that is also, is going to change people's understanding of this thing that's happening. That's a great use case for us. So no, there's not a tie there. I think the challenge for us is how are we able to see stories like that when they come in? Like
Mm-hmm.
how can we make sure that there's like a receptacle, like it's something that's going to catch them or flag them and get them onto our radar, which
Mm-hmm.
is obviously a big challenge, but we see that and value that kind of work for sure. And we want that type of writer to be successful on Medium as well.
Another thing that came up, and I'm gonna have to go get my hat for this. I don't know if you can see, this is my conspiracy theory hat. One of the biggest conspiracy theories that has already emerged is that somehow certain publications have extra boosting powers. And I wanted to quash this as soon as I could because I was sure that wouldn't be the case. Medium is so big about not allowing anything to be gameable that it really comes down to good writing. And that's exactly what Scott and Brianna were able to confirm for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought it up, and was expecting that it would be a thing that we would talk about. And as Tony mentioned in his post, like we do have, I think now we're up to something like 20 publications that we're working with, and I think at
Hmm.
some point we do want to move into being like very transparent about who they are
Hmm.
and have a lot more transparency in the system. And I understand where some of those conspiracy theories might be coming from. So, because we want to build a good system and this is software, we do start with a small group and start to learn and iterate. We need to build a better system over time, which means we can't throw it open immediately to thousands of publication editors. So we'll be talking a little bit more about who's in there now, but the thing I will say is we don't want this to become a new form of gatekeeping. We're going to be bringing a lot more people. We're kind of going as quickly as we can to start bringing more publications into this. I think right now, this is very much it's sort of a push from our side to
Hmm.
find people that we can work with, and we need to keep like working with a limited number so that we can have really good communication back and forth with them as we build out something that we can turn into a scalable system. But the goal is not to keep it where it is now. The goal is to expand the number of publishers and who are in there, and eventually down the road have something that's much more baked into the product. It's much more of a system that a lot of people can participate in. So definitely more to come on that. I want to try and squash those conspiracy theories as much as we could, and I
Yeah.
think the best way we can do that is have some really clear updates, and not months down the road, over the course of the next couple of weeks even.
The main thing that was highlighted, and I can take off the hat now, that was quashed that conspiracy theory. The main thing that was highlighted was that we should expect this process to be plastic. This is going to change as Medium learns what's going to happen with boosted stories, and writers learn how they can write better boosted stories, and Medium hires more people to help recommend stories to be boostable. And this led me to a really, really interesting aspect of the changes that we can expect to happen on Medium in the near and in the distant future. Think about curation on Medium. I don't mean the special tag that writers used to get on their stories. I mean the ability to say, hey, I read this really cool story and I think you should read it too. That's having taste. That's being a curator on Medium. We all do it to some degree or another. I do it when I read a really cool story by Chloe Condon back in 2017, and I mentioned it in this interview with Scott. There are so many stories I've read on Medium that stick with me to this day that I read years ago. Like there was one from Chloe Condon about like what it's like to be a woman in tech that I read in like
Mhm.
2017 that I'm still thinking about. And Scott said, "Hey, that's a great story. We've added it to our staff picks because we agree it's a cool story." That's me helping be a curator. You do the same thing when you read one of your friend's stories and you're like, "This is awesome. I'm going to share this with my mom because I know she's been thinking about this or I know she's been struggling with this." We writers on Medium are used to thinking of Medium in kind of three parties, right? There's us, there's the writers, then there's the readers who we serve, and then there's Medium who kind of sits over everybody and pulls the strings, sort of. Brianna underlined and really highlighted the importance of a fourth role on Medium, which is the curation role.
We've thought of Medium as like we have readers and we have writers, and what does that mean? But in reality, and you can see that even with like our saved lists product that just launched, I think last week, you know, there are some people who may not write per se, but they know how to tell a story collectively. They know how to identify a story. They know what their community is interested in. To Tony's point, they have taste, right? And so like if people are doing that work and they're able to, we have 75 million posts on Medium, right? The beauty of the open platform is that you can write whatever you want and it will find its audience. But if someone's helping us dig through that haystack, right, to find needles, I think there's just like, and putting it into a list that people save and interact with, or submitting it for a boot, like all of, there's so many ways to participate in
Mhm.
the ecosystem of Medium. And I think we're just taking something that folks have done naturally and identifying it and saying, like, you'll see when you're reading a list, a story in a list, will say curated by Zuli, right? Like, so like we're starting that language of like, yeah, like curation is a role. because it helps the platform, right? It helps the community.
And helped share that, and Scott confirmed as well that they're thinking about actually helping pay people who choose stories that get boosted. And then if those stories do well, if those stories are eligible for boost and they go on to get to reach a wide readership and really resonate with an audience, that Medium will have the ability to financially reward people.
The goal for us is to build a system, yes, where publication editors, or if there is this role for people who are suggesting stories who aren't publication editors, we're sort of exploring that. I'm definitely not making any promises that that's going to be a part of it, but it's a potential, that there would be a way for them to earn money for that, and really specifically for if they suggest stories that are in fact boosted, that they participate to some degree in like the upside of that interaction. So I know that's incredibly vague right now, but again, this is one part of the system that we're like still in the process of building out. But long term, yes, the goal is that, essentially we're adding another role, to the partner program.
I called this boost bounties. So if you see that, you know where it came from.
Almost like a bounty. Like if you end up boosting a story that resonates really well, that's kind of what I'm getting. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah. Maybe we should call it bounty.
Bounty, yeah.
Sort of that. I don't want to quite put it in those terms.
I won't
Yeah.
hold you to anything.
The
Trademark.
idea that trademark it quickly.
But I thought that was really cool and really in keeping with Medium's mission of helping give the right story to the right reader at the right time. And it's not just an algorithm that does that. It's somebody with good taste who helps say, hey, this story matters. This story should be shared further. I want to share this story with my friends, my family, anybody who cares about this particular topic. So what's coming next for Boosted? What can we expect? Medium have been really transparent. This is an early stage. We're seeing kind of the beta. We're experiencing the beta right now. We can expect that to change. We can expect more curators to be added to the list. We can expect what happens when a story is curated or boosted to change. We can maybe even expect that we'll be paid in the future when we make a great recommendation to be boosted. What else can we expect? What else can we see on the roadmap?
We are working through a project now that we're just at the very beginning of. I think it's a continuation of the boost work in that we're saying like unlock, right? What Medium has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure, one of the goals that we actually wrote out for a project that I'd be happy to share is that like, I trust that when I come to Medium, we can't always guarantee the first click. It's user generated content, right? Like we're not writing it,
Mhm.
So, but I trust that like that second click I'll find something to read, right? Like I will, like, I know Medium can deliver on that for me, either because of what they know about me or because they know enough about the content that I'm reading and potentially shown interest in that they can identify the best of that like subject area and put it in front of me. Like, when we talk about how can we unlock that experience for our readers, it just provides so much ample opportunity for our writers as well, because oftentimes it can feel like a black box, like but if we can create these very clear pathways, like I think of it in my brain as like a neural network of just like, this is interesting to this person and this is about this and this is happening in the world right now. So like if we can do that well, and really unlock, we can't expect people to go through 75 million pieces of content. We can't expect them to browse that. We can't expect them to, spend enough time to find something that would be maybe of interest. Like it's our job at some level to do a little bit of that organizing and curation for them. And so we're really starting to think about how we can do that powerfully across Medium. And it's directly connected to the boosted project because the boosted content would be, the highest signal of that organization and curation.
All this to say, I am so excited about where Medium's going. I really love Medium. I love that there's a place on the internet that's dedicated to making sure anybody who has a story to tell is able to share that story and find an audience, whether they have 0 followers, whether they have 100,000 followers, that if you have a story to tell, you have a place to share it. And that's what Medium is all about. And I feel like Boosted is just another way, another tool Medium has to make that happen for us as writers and for us as readers. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching the interview. If you have any other questions for Medium, I highly encourage you to click on any of the blog posts I'm going to link below. Leave a comment. They are in the comments. They are answering comments. If you have any questions, let them know. If you have any questions for me, any suggestions, any thoughts, let me know. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe to this video on my channel. I post stuff about how to grow your blogging empire. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. See you all soon. Bye.